Hey guys, Stealth here. We're looking at the XM800T here. This is a Tier 3 Recon vehicle, and it's the first Recon vehicle or the first pure Recon vehicle that you unlock from Wolfley's tree. Now, you don't just get to buy this vehicle. In order to get this tree unlocked, you have to spot 50 vehicles first. And to do that, I would recommend using the LAV 150. Spotting stuff works best if you have a good vision range. And the vision range for the LAV 150 is 467.5 meters. The pattern isn't really that good, it only has a vision of 360. So if you use the LAV 150, spotting stuff will be very easy. And spotting stuff is going to be even easier once you actually get the tree unlocked and you get the XM800. Because the base spotting range on this vehicle is 480 meters, or 488. With my vision range upgrades, which is one of the retrofits that I have installed, I can go up to 500 meters, which is in most maps, if you're in the middle of the map and there's nothing blocking your line of sight, enough to see pretty much anything. Of course, you cannot look through buildings, so aside from that, this is a really good recon vehicle. But keep in mind, it's a good recon vehicle until you get spotted. Right there and then, your armor is going to have to start taking hits, and it's not something that it does very well. You have a low amount of hit points, you have virtually no armor, 15 millimeters, that's not going to stop anything, including autocannon rounds. So anything that gets fired at this vehicle will hurt you. And considering that your hit point pool isn't really that large, you have to rely on either being not detected or moving. And your detection value of 0.39 will help you with the first. It'll make sure that you're not that easy to spot and that you can either work as a passive spotter or move slowly and maintain that 0.39 camo factor. Since it is an armored fighting vehicle, low movements do not, or low speed movements don't reduce camouflage factor. So just slowly cruising through an area is going to mean that you still have that 0.39 cloaking bonus, which is very significant for this type of vehicle. Now let's say you do get spotted and you do start taking fire. That's when your mobility comes into play. This vehicle, by base, I believe can go up to somewhere along 80 kph, but with my retrofit it can go up to almost 94 kph. That is extremely fast for a tracked vehicle. Wheeled vehicles usually go even faster, but for a tracked vehicle, a speed of 94 is very quick. You also get to that speed very quickly. 0 to 38 or 32 is 2.25 seconds, and there are no engine upgrades that you can install to make this even faster. But this means that it's going to get up to that 90 kph in somewhere between 4 and 8 seconds. I think more along the lines of 4 to 6 seconds. Now, one thing that you may strike as interesting here is the DPM of 4046. It looks great on paper, but you do not have a punchy gun. Yes, it fires quickly, but you have to go for the sides and the rear of an enemy vehicle in order to get that damage done. You can look at the front of a Patton and aim at the turret and just pull that trigger and nothing will happen. You just don't have the penetration to go through the front of a tank. So yes, it may say 4000 in an ideal situation where you're peppering the back of an armored fighting vehicle and then you can get up to that 4000 DPM. But more often than not, it just doesn't happen. And you can see up here that the damage that you do is only 22 per shot. Your penetration is 72. Now let's see how that 72 penetration compares to vehicles that you may encounter. You'll be looking at Tier 3 vehicles. The Leopard has a frontal hull armor of 70. So with your 72, if you're looking at flat frontal hull armor of a Leopard 1, you can go through. The moment that armor starts to get angled, you can no longer penetrate this vehicle. Sides and rear are good. You can go through there easy. The M60 has 143 millimeters of frontal armor. That's twice that amount of penetration that you have, so you're never going to penetrate this thing from the front. Even the sides will pose a problem for you, because it has 74 millimeters there. The rear is really the only good location to hurt an M60. And with a 35 rear armor, you can really easily go through that. But of course you have to get there first. You have to go around the target. The hull is penetrable on the rear, but the turret not so much. It has 50 millimeters of penetration, or sorry, 50 millimeters of armor, which means that you still have to make sure you go for the rear of the vehicle if you can get it. The BMP is pretty easy to penetrate. It has pretty much as much hull armor as you do, but it's still way lower than the 70 millimeters of penetration that you have, so you can punch through this thing no problem. Dragoon 390, same deal, 10 millimeters of armor. If you're looking at the other tech tree, T62 is going to give you trouble, especially the turret is virtually impenetrable to the XM800's autocannon. The hull, front and sides are no good, rear is penetrable, and same goes for the rear of the turret. Fire support vehicles are easy to penetrate, but this thing still has a surprising amount of armor, of 48 at the front. So if this thing is angled well, you will have a bit of trouble going through the frontal armor of the AMX-10P. But the Scorpion is no problem. 10 millimeters of armor at the best means that you can penetrate this thing anywhere, and you should prioritize these things if you see them on the battlefield, because they are really easy to kill for you, and the same goes for them. You are a very easy and nice target being in an XM800 for a Scorpion that's firing HE ammunition. And if these things actually fire, they can do quite a bit of damage and take somewhere between a third and half of your health off, depending on what the RNG is. So, you need to be a flanker and a spotter in this vehicle. And the upgrades pretty much signify that. You get a reconnaissance package in the technology slot, and this means that you get a faster base capture rate, which isn't really important. But once you stop moving, once you're immobile, you get a 40 meters flat bonus to your view range. That's significant, because it means that passive spotting in this vehicle gets rewarded. Now, other than that, there's virtually no upgrades here. You got a standard APDS round and a little bit of HEI, which is high explosive incendiary autocannon ammunition. As far as these two ammo types go, I almost always stick to APDS, unless I'm dealing, for example, with a cap reset, where I want to quickly be able to reset the cap and I need to have that first shot go through. That's when I switch to HEI, which is high explosive incendiary, and it always does damage, unless the target really is heavily armored. In that case, you're going to have to try and flank it and go around. You can also unlock a mobility retrofit slot, but not an upgraded engine, so you're going to have to stick with that base engine. And as far as proven stats go, you don't get a retrofit, but you do get 2 cash bonuses of 10,120. Now, as far as my loadout goes, my AP ammo is by far the most important, so I have most of that, 630 rounds, and I have 270 rounds of HEI. For the retrofits, I went with augmented optics to further increase that spotting range of 488, I think, to 500, and then some. And I went with the improved filter systems to improve the maximum speed from, I think, 88 to 93, something like that. I still have all of my base consumables on. I use the expensive repair kits because they give passive bonuses, and I got a low tier field maintenance kit in case I want to go into PvE. Now, that's it about the vehicle. Everything you need to know has been reviewed as far as the numbers go. Now let's see how these things actually perform in combat. Alright, we're on Cold Strike, and it's mostly tier 3 match. I got a couple of armored fighting vehicles with me, consisting of BMP-1s, which are not that great at spotting. The enemy team does have 3 XM800s, so I have to be careful when going in, because I will be dealing with autocannons firing back at me. Now, this vehicle is extremely fast. Don't let that speed get you into trouble. Use it as a sort of defensive tool to get you out of trouble. That's a sort of defensive mechanism that you can use to get yourself away from a conflict zone if it's getting too hot for you. Now I'm going towards a sort of passive spotting position alongside this road. I'm going to try and find a couple of bushes to do spotting from, but I'm hoping that I'm going to actually have shots or shooters behind me, because currently it seems that every vehicle is going into town, save for the one LEV-150 that's behind me. Now let's slowly park here. I'm going to put it in cruise control once, which is by hitting R. You can see that my camo bonus is still active. I'm going to stop and my maximum view range is achieved, and there you go. I already got a leopard spotted. I'm going to lace the target to keep him spotted, and that will also allow my teammates to do maximum damage to him. But I think he's behind a bit of cover now. Now I'm in trouble because there's already a target here. Back it up. I have absolutely no intention to stay near the front line when there's 1 or 2 leopards shooting back at me. You can see I'm taking a bit of fire, but it somehow bounced off the side of my vehicle because it was angled. And now I'm using all of this speed to get away from my last known position. Spotted the T-62. I'm hoping that someone's going to shoot at that, because I sure as hell cannot penetrate him, as indicated by the blue arrow in my targeting circle. Means I just cannot go through the frontal armor of this tank. I'm going to wait till my laser designator is ready and laze the target. There you go. Now I can try to go through the side, but it will give my position away, and that's not something I want to do. I'm just going to sit here and let my team finish him off. If they can do that. That is. Okay, let's try and go through. You can see I'm struggling to penetrate this vehicle, and he has spotted me. Backing up, getting away from the fight. Some autocannon rounds are coming in. And even in reverse, this thing does 40, which is faster than some vehicles go forward. Now there's an Object 155 here. If I can spot the T-62 for him, that's going to be really useful. So I'm putting it in cruise control to make sure I don't move too fast. And by doing that I can still spot the target while retaining my camo value. Seems that the T-62 has died. So now it's time to spot that LAV-150 that was hiding out here. And the thing is, he also gets a spotting bonus if he's immobile. But usually players at this tier don't really know how to do the spotting yet. And that's what I'm going with, that's what I'm counting on. M41 is something that I can penetrate to some extent, but I'm also taking quite a bit of fire here. I got hit by a Leopard 1 there. And there's also one of their own XM800s there. Send a couple of rounds that way to suppress him a bit. Pull back. And wait for more targets to pop up. Where that M41 was, by the way, up there, that's a really, really good position to spot from. I call it the mountain goat position, because you have to go really, really up against that mountain to actually get it done. But once you get there, you have a really, really good spotting position. You can spot pretty much anything that's camping at or near this position. Now you can see that I was behind the LAV-150 here, but I still got the spot for that M41. Getting a couple of penetrations here without being spotted, and I got the kill. Now there's an M60. That's something else. That's something I cannot penetrate. So lasing the target, keeping him spotted, and allowing my teammates to do damage to him. Also spotted a leopard, spotted a second leopard. I'm just here sitting spotting targets, and I'm perfectly happy doing that. The one thing is, we only have a 155 here. The rest of my team is in town. And that will make it a bit more difficult for me to actually do something useful here, because I just cannot deal with these vehicles on my own. So, patience in all things until you get spotted, and that's when I have to start getting out. I'm not spotted anymore, but he's just continuing to suppress this position, which is a good choice. Maybe I can do a bit of fire suppression on this guy. There you go. Target down. There's the M60. I'm going to switch to a high explosive incendiary, even though I have his rear. So doing quite a bit of damage. That's because I finally get a position where I can penetrate this tank. I tracked him, and someone else took him out. There you go. That was useful. Me tracking him will also give me bonus XP for tracking a vehicle, and immobilized targets are way easier to kill. You do get a bonus for that. All damage done to a tracked vehicle is added to your gained XP. shooting a couple of high incendiary rounds into this Leopard. Maybe it'll go through. Someone else took him out there. You can see, even though I was pretty far behind, I already did 1261 spotting, or 1261 actual damage, let alone spotting damage. Switching back to AP ammo, because I'm expecting to run into this LAV-150 sooner rather than later. And with AP ammo I can do a lot more damage. Now, one thing that I have noticed with the XM800, some people just bolt across the terrain. If I would have gone full speed there and jumped down that ridge, I would have died. Not something I'm trying to do, so in order to make sure I didn't die, I was going really slowly. Make sure you don't get yourself killed by the pure speed that this vehicle can generate. It's not worth it. Of course, it's fun to jump across the terrain, and especially stuff like this can happen. I wasn't really going to say that, but I lost my track due to just going over a small bump right behind me. So, even I wasn't intending to do that, it is still a good lesson. Don't go too fast, because you will get yourself in trouble, tracked, or you can run into an ambush head first. Alright, results are up. I got 3,800 XP for that and 90,000 credits. Now this is with premium, but without the Halloween bonus. I'm recording this on a Monday just after the Halloween weekend. So this is pretty much what you can get, or what you can expect to get if you play well. I got 1,282 damage done, and I spotted targets for 2,160. Now, considering that most vehicles only have somewhere between 700 and 1,000 hit points, that means that I spotted pretty much 2 to 3 vehicles and got all the damage done to those as spotting damage. Unsurprisingly, really, I got to the top of the team, although I gotta say this Object 155 did a lot of damage and he was really useful to the team that way. But let's see at the details. Damage resulting from spots is 219 XP. That's more than damage done to the enemy at only 134. And this is also, of course, given by designating targets. 1,050 damage done to designated targets, that adds to that. And I don't think that I got... Yep, here it is. Damage resulting from immobilization. That's the M60, I think, that I tracked. And someone else took him out and damaged him for 519, which I got credited as well. This vehicle is not really about dealing all the damage yourself. It's much more about providing a support to your friendlies, either by tracking targets, lighting them up, or keeping them designated with your laser designator. Now I'm going to take this vehicle into a PvE, and I'm going to do a medium contract. The problem with PvE for lightly armored vehicles, such as this one, is that targets can spawn all around you. Once they do, especially higher tier BMPs, they're going to do a lot of damage to you in a matter of seconds. So an XM800T, as far as my results have been, are not ideal in a PvE match. But in case you prefer PvE over PvP, I'm going to take this vehicle into one anyway and show you how it can perform. Of course, one of the things that these fast vehicles are ideal at is hunting down objectives, especially if those things are on a clock. If you don't have a lot of time to accomplish an objective, sending out an AFV to do that job, while also lighting up targets in the meanwhile, is an ideal way of making sure you're useful to a team. Take this objective, for example. I can either go to this roadblock or the one up there, up in the north, and that's what I'm going to do, to destroy the tanks there. I will need a bit of assistance, and I hope that a Leopard 1 is going to come with me, because he's the fastest one. And I hope that by doing this, he is getting the message, and that we can together go and clear out that roadblock. Because on my own, I can circle strafe tanks to death, but it will cost me hit points, and I just don't have that much.
Just in time, Black Company.
Turning around, you can see the hull traverse is not ideal, but it works. I got the Leo 1, I got the XM800, they're going east and then north, which means that I'm going to take the alternate route and try to get vehicles from the flank as they're engaging my allies. Which is something that this vehicle does really well, flanking and coming in from unexpected angles. There's a BMP-1 there, getting engaged by the autocannon and getting finished off by the Leo. Oh, that was the only one. Okay. I'm used to seeing more vehicles here. Usually it's two vehicles, especially in hard. Time to start helping out our allies back there. And Sheridan would be an ideal target for me, because Sheridan is not heavily armored and I can easily go through that. Superior T-92 scout vehicle. Easy target, it's a tier 2. And instead I'm going to slow down here, do a bit of a drive-by shooting. Did take a little bit return fire, but not too much. These guys seem to be tunnel visioned the other way. Pressing C on my keyboard to reload my clip so that I have my full capacity ready. And I'm going to start functioning as a spotter. In order to do that, I'm going away from the conflict. And this is something that you may find a bit strange. But I'm going away from the conflict to get up on a ridge. And from there I can pepper the weak top sides of tanks. And I can also make sure that my team has all the spots that they need. They can see everything. Now it's a bit of a drive. Wouldn't recommend this to all vehicles because some of them are just too slow to do it. But the XM800 is fast enough to actually get up around here and provide a bit of a sort of overwatch position. Almost there. And now I have a really good dominating vision here. Of course, I went all the way around and only now do I see that I could just driven up here.
Enemies heading to Delta 2. Take them out.
Now they're heading to Delta 2, which means I'm probably too late in this position. Bit unfortunate there, but so be it. Let's try not to get tracked as I'm going off this hill. Sometimes if you go off a hill like this, you can, but please make sure you're moving in reverse. Keep your finger on S to slow down. If you don't, you risk doing damage to yourself. Now I'm way behind on damage done. So I'm going to have to be pretty aggressive here to get most of the damage for the next couple of vehicles. There's a Pack 90 tank destroyer there. Start peppering him with fire. Target down. MX-10P behind. And there's a bit of trees in the way. Right click the target to make sure it did maximum, or to make sure the autocannon locked on. There's a fragile T-64. This is a bit more complicated to penetrate. Still going around, taking him out. Still, I'm way behind on damage. I'm only at 460. I really want to be somewhere along the lines of 1,000 or 1,500 by now. But because I went up there, that cost me a massive amount of time and damage done.
Identify target.
M41, Walker Bulldog, as well as a fragile BMD-1. Superior T-64, I cannot penetrate that, but I can keep these guys busy. And as they're turning their turrets and their hulls around, they're not shooting at my allies. And I can just bolt up here. There's also a patent back there, which I can penetrate from over here. Let's try to get the Superior T-54. Come on, back it up. Back of the turret, side of the turret, easily going through there. Let's laze him. Target locked on. Ally did a lot of damage there, autocannon finished him off. Done. Let's see if there's any more out there, and it seems that I'm already at the next zone, which is good. And I just don't have enough speed to go up there. I'll have to go around. And I'm going to do the Overwatch position thing again. Preferably without losing too much damage output this time around.
Identify target. Hostile PC.
Spot an artillery unit. That is a really easy target for this vehicle. You can see his health is dropping extremely quickly. Target down. There is a superior Walker Bulldog behind us. I know it doesn't say Walker Bulldog, but when I think M41, I think Walker Bulldog. I'm not sure where he's going, though. Okay, never mind. Someone else took him out. An OF40. That's going to be a bit harder to penetrate if I need to, but of course he got taken out already. Let's see, the other XM800 is at 2800 damage done. So he's doing a lot better than I am.
Right there.
Bit of a side slide there.
No effect. Hostile. Rip down them.
Time to jam into this AMX here. And you can see he did shoot at me.
Down them.
But now he's having trouble turning his turret around, and I got the complete damage done to that guy. Now, vehicles that you have to fear in this vehicle are those which can do a lot of damage with one round. So a T-64 that's firing heat rounds, or a Scorpion,
Target right there.
these things are trouble. The good thing is that their turret traverse really isn't that good, and they will struggle with getting their turret around fast enough to get the damage on target. This guy does seem to be looking at me.
Red light. No effect.
Lower frontal plate not going through. Trying to track him.
Ricochet. Target in. Target
Tracked
eliminated.
the T-62 and killed off the Scorpion. Let's just scout around this block, see if there's anyone else who wants to spawn in. 2000 damage. I'm actually overtaking the Object 155 now. But the other one is still 1200, make that 1800 points ahead of me as far as damage goes.
Identify target.
Yep, there's another target.
Ricochet. No effect.
He did hit me.
Down them. Good hit. Threat destroyed.
Target down. I'm rearming my cartridge. There you go. Next target. I'm gonna pop my number 9, which is my resupply kit. And by doing that, I make sure that I get some of my health back so that I don't die to the next unit that comes into view. But didn't really need to do that, as we just won this battle. Lot of cruelty to planes going on, but the castle seems to be safe and we got the objective. Now again, I wasted a massive amount of time up in the north when I was going around to get to that overwatch position. Didn't need to do that. So next time around I should go much more aggressive and try to get myself into the conflict as soon as possible. Alright, and you can see that the results for this one are significantly inferior to my PvP results. I did get the award Teamwork, which is by completing a PvE with no losses. I got 1400 spotting damage, 2500 damage done, but I only ended third on the team. The XM800 and T-62 did significantly more damage, and their place higher on the ranking is well deserved. Did get a bit of credits, although the last one that I got, of course, was significantly better. Let's see if I compare those notifications. The first battle that I showed you with 90,000 credits and 3,800 XP. That's a times 2. So let's half that. Or actually, yeah, it's a times 2. So let's say 1,700 XP. Somewhere between 1,700 and 1,900, depending on the bonuses, and about 45,000 credits. So for me, the XM800T performs way better in PvP because you can spot targets, make sure targets are tracked, lace targets, and be useful to your team that way. There are more friendly units to fire at targets that you light up, usually, than in a PvE match. And that's why I would usually take this thing into a PvP. Now, scouting isn't for everyone. I do believe everyone can learn it if you have the patience to do so. But just give yourself some time to find good spots to spot from. Give yourself time to get used to the playstyle of the scout. But keep in mind that the vehicles from this tree, they all work differently. The XM800T is an autocannon vehicle. The Swingfire is a very passive scout with HGMs. The Fox is one of the fastest vehicles in the game, which relies heavily on active spotting. So there's all sorts of different playstyles here. Don't get stuck up on the playstyle for the XM800 because you will not use it very well in the swing fire. Anyway, with that, I hope you got a bit of an idea of how to use this vehicle and how to use it well. If you have a question, leave it in the comments. If you found this review useful, please give it a like. And if you want more Armored Warfare reviews, subscribe to my channel and I'll keep them coming. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.